Um, and hello and a warm welcome, everyone. My name is Viktor Jósa, and actually I'm talking to you from Budapest, Hungary. Despite my windy background, it's a sunny and calm day here, which is quite usual for this current winter, which is, however, not typical historically in my region. But weather aside, thank you for joining from whatever conditions you're connecting from right now. I work as a consultant and serve as the project coordinator for the Sustainaware project. And as we are constantly looking for partners, educators, it's my role to increase the capacity of our reach. So I'd be happy to connect with you through email or LinkedIn. Please feel free to get in touch with me. And it's been my pleasure moderating this second webinar series, which we are beginning right now with this first episode today. And you can see the whole first series on the screen. And in fact, they can be found on YouTube under the bit.ly link you see on the screen. And here I'm also letting you know that we are recording this webinar, and the recording will be uploaded together with all these other ones to YouTube. So the Sustainaware family consists of mainly Hungarian and Slovenian members. And I see a couple of you from our project partners here with us, from the Institute for Health and Environment Slovenia, who's hosting today this event. I see a couple of other people are here also from No Excuse Slovenia, partners from University of Ljubljana. Thank you all for supporting the family. We try to make this discussion today as interactive as it gets, and I'm also asking my friend Tim to take care of the chat box together with your inputs, and don't hold yourself back, please, from using this chat box. There will be an opportunity to tune in after our crossfire discussion through your cameras as well as microphones. Chat box, as said. And as mentioned, this is the first episode of the second webinar series of the Sustainaware project, along with several other events and occasions that have happened in the past year. And it's key to mention that we wouldn't be able to scale this project without the co-financing by the European Climate Initiative, also known as the UKI, and the European Union's EC-DEAR funding, for which we are grateful for. And I think some of you know that among the outputs of this awareness raising project, we've been developing and implementing a competence model for climate change education in Hungary and Slovenia, which serves the goal of being used by non-formal youth educators, as well as high school teachers, and anyone who wants to use interactive tools for climate outreach and climate education within their communities, schools, companies, organizations. And imagine this competence model as something like a toolbox for educators, with tools such as those we will be featuring today. And we have a few interactive tools featured in this competence model, but today we will touch upon two of them with our guest speakers from the Climate Fresk, or previously known as the Climate Collage, and also the climate action simulation game developed by Climate Interactive. And it's my honor to present you our first guest speaker, Aline Dequidt, who serves as the Climate Education Kickoff coordinator, as well as a professional facilitator for the Climate Fresk. Hi, Aline. And I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us about the institution you represent. And along that, as a key person from specifically education within your organization, I'd like to ask you to also speak about non-formal education opportunities through the Climate Fresk.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thank you so much for the invitation. So to introduce myself a little bit, so my name is Aline Dequidt. I'm speaking from France, which is actually the country where the Climate Fresk was created. And I work as a professional facilitator, facilitating workshop for the Climate Fresk and for the author of the Climate Fresk, which is Cedric Ringenbach, who created the game in his company called Blue Choice. And I also work for the NGO as a climate education kickoff coordinator, and I will present to you this program, especially for education institutions. So maybe at first, in order to present you what the Climate Fresk is, I'm going to share some slides so that everybody can imagine what it's like. And I'm sharing my screen right now. Do you see it? Yes. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, I feel like it's better with pictures. So you also see my camera, I guess. So the Climate Fresk actually is a card game. So it's like 42 cards that participants will have 1.5 hours to place in the right order from causes and effects. And after they have 1.5 hours to talk about solutions. So you have two main phases. The game was created in order to make simple the IPCC reports data, because you all know maybe what IPCC is. Like they make big reports. It's like thousands of pages high. It's very difficult to read and to understand. And so all the cards, they actually represent some causes and effects of the climate issues. So the participants, they have all this. This is like a big sum up of the last IPCC reports, and they're asked to place it as a group to discuss from the cards and just place it from causes and effects. So it looks like the pictures you have here on the left. So they had to chat, they had to exchange. They all have like one part of the solution of the problem and they chat with each other in order to create this whole systemic point of view of the climate issues. And after they created like this, it looks like this in the end with 42 cards. It's a little bit difficult to understand. They have a few phases after this in order to decorate. There is a big creativity part in order to make it easier to understand for everybody, in order maybe to keep the result of their work and maybe I don't know, let it in the high school, for example, so that everybody can know. And after we have like a very important phase on sharing emotions about how we feel now that we know all of this. How do we feel about that? And then a phase about what can I do? Because it's not only learning about climate change, it's also learning how I can act. And this is like taking actions all together in order to have an impact. So you have like those 4 phases. This is why the workshop lasts 3 hours. Might be long, might seem long, but we really need this phase in the end concerning solutions, so that we know people are not depressed and know they can take actions together. And just a word about the specific program of the Climate Fresk NGO, which is called the Climate Education Kickoff, which is a program that aims to organize events in which plenty of students or pupils can participate in a workshop at the same time. And how do we do this? We try to train facilitators internally in education institutions, for example, teachers or even students sometimes. So in order to become a facilitator, you participate in a workshop and then you follow training, a 3-hour training, and then you will be able to run this workshop yourself for your teammates or for your pupils, for your students. So this is why we organize these big events. We train facilitators internally, and after the high school or the institution is autonomous and can run these events without even the help of the NGO. Last slide, just to give you a few information. Like, this is now a whole community of facilitators worldwide. So the NGO organizes workshop and trains facilitators so that it has this exponential growth, and so that people that actually run a workshop can feel empowered and feel active in spreading the message. So this is why we have this exponential growth. We have more than 8,000 facilitators now, even more than 10,000 because it goes very fast. And we sensitized over 300,000 people yet, but we are going to reach 1 million this year. So this is really it goes very fast. And that's it for the slides. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I think that's it for the climate education kickoff. And concerning high school especially, I run many climate education kickoffs in high schools, and this works very well in order to empower either students or teachers, because what I felt is teachers sometimes they feel like they are not trained yet, like trained enough to talk about these very complex issues about climate. And so as you don't have to be an expert to become facilitator, everything is in the cards. This helps a lot. The teachers run this scientific workshop, follow the training, and after they can rely on the game also to complete their lessons. So this is really helpful.
Thanks for these insights. It's also an update for me, as I've been working with some of the colleagues of the Climate Fresk previously in COP events and other related conferences, and it's great to see this uptake and this growth within the organization and the initiative itself, which started really with a set of cards and a card game, and now I sense you have a growing number of people who take this to institutions, who take this to their friends, and I like to facilitate this game myself. I haven't been doing it on such scale as you are with companies and bigger institutions, but I've played it with kids. Played it with smaller groups last time in Slovenia, and it is a very practical game which really doesn't leave anyone at the table without participating. Thank you for elaborating on this, and we'll get back to it, as this is tries to be an interactive discussion with a back and forth dialogue. So now I'd like to turn and dive into another initiative, which I also like to facilitate myself. And it's the climate action simulation with the En-ROADS model developed by Climate Interactive. We have Bindu Bhandari with us here today. She serves as the outreach and engagement manager at Climate Interactive. Bindu, can you please also introduce yourself, tell us about the institution you represent?
Thank you so much, Victor, and thank you for having me. I am glad to be here. So just like Victor mentioned, I represent an organization called Climate Interactive. Climate Interactive is a not-for-profit think tank which is registered in the US but works globally. And today I'm joining you from Nepal. I'm based in the capital city, Kathmandu here. So to tell a little bit about myself, for the last 8 years, I've been working in the space of climate change, especially in the field of climate change communication. So I have worked with many different organizations at local level, but also internationally. And for the last 3 years, I have been engaged with Climate Interactive as a team member. But interestingly, I have been using the tools developed by Climate Interactive from the very beginning days of my campaigning. So I started as a climate change campaigner, and at that time I had this tool of Climate Interactive. which I'll talk more about later. But I have been using the tool before I joined as a staff member. So yeah, I love the fact that these tools developed by Climate Interactive are accessible for everyone. It runs in laptop, ordinary laptop, desktop, iPads, etc. And as a not-for-profit think tank, the good news is it is available for free. So you can go and check it out yourself. And all the resources, training materials out there is available for free. So maybe I think it would make sense for me to also give some visual representation. So I will just take a quick time to share my screen. Victor, may I request to have that access, please?
Yes.
So I'll just walk you through the main interface of our website so that you can see what is out there and you can check it out, explore it yourself later. So let me try. Okay, I can see that I am able to share my screen again. Well, so if you just go to any browser and type climateinteractive.org, so this is our homepage. And wow, here, this is me. So this is a picture from State Countdown last year, where we presented Endorsed, the tool that is developed by Climate Interactive and our partner, MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative. So if you go to climateinteractive.org, you can see we have all the information out there. But what I would like to maybe quickly show you is the tool Endorsed, around which the game Climate Action Simulation that Victor mentioned is based on. So Endorsed is one of our newest simulator. We also have another simulation model called Zeros. But for now, I'll stick with Endorsed. So Endorsed was launched publicly in 2019 during COP25. And since then, we have presented Endorsed to people from different walks of life, to policymakers, to educators, to activists, civil society leaders, corporate leaders, and whom not. So as of now, you can see that we have been able to reach to people in more than 90 countries, and more than 100,000 people have participated in our Endorsed events. So at first, when you hear Endorsed, that might seem a little bit tricky. Like, what is Endorsed? So Endorsed actually stands for Energy Rapid Overview and Decision Support. So Endorsed is a system dynamics simulation model that helps people see what are the systems inside that are policy relevant to address climate change with equitable policies. So here is the simulator itself. Again, everything is available in the website, and I'm walking you through the website. So this is the tool, Endorsed, that I have been mentioning about. So this is the default interface of Endorsed simulator. So as you can see here on my left, you can see global sources of primary energy. In this graph, you can see coal in brown, oil in red, renewables in green, natural gas in blue. We also have bioenergy, nuclear, etc. So this is the primary energy mix. And on the right, you can see greenhouse gas emissions. And also you can see a figure here, 3.6 degrees Celsius, which is the baseline scenario if we don't take any meaningful action. As I mentioned to you, this tool is very interactive. And as I start taking larger scale, global level, any changes in policy, taxes, subsidies, changes in land use, agriculture system, or any technological innovation, then you can see how all these factors changes our overall greenhouse gas emissions and also temperature. So this is very interactive. Again, what you are seeing here is the default interface. We have more than 100 graphs that you can pick and choose from, including carbon dioxide emissions and everything about what are the energy demands for different type of fuels. Also, what are the impacts? You can see we have sea level rise. We also have pollution from energy. You can see how PM 2.5 emissions have dropped down as I moved some sliders and took action. And that's not only it. Just to give a quick overview, this model, Endorsed, is transparent in its mathematical logic. If there are some things you'd like to see and know more about. What are the assumptions behind different factors? You can actually check it out here. So if you go to the assumptions, you will see there are, you can see what are the assumptions behind the model, and you can also change them and see what happens if the assumptions you are assuming may be a little different to what has been modeled by default. You are more than welcome to try by changing it, changing the default values of the assumptions as well. So this was a very quick overview. Of course, all the description of the model, all the structures can be found in our reference guide. Again, if you just click here, help, you will be redirected to Endorsed user guide, which has all the descriptions and more details about each of the sliders. So yeah, that's it. And not only that, we also have what we call as Endorsed Climate Ambassadors Program, and I will talk very quickly about this. So Endorsed Climate Ambassadors Program is a cohort of dedicated facilitators. So basically anyone who loves our tool can use it for free. As facilitators, you can go through the resources. Everything is out there in our website. So you can just look at them, and if you feel comfortable and if you feel confident, you are more than welcome to run the events and to any groups that you have, maybe to your students, maybe to your corporate leaders, to your friends, families. But the ambassadors are a dedicated cohort, is a group of people who have gone through what we call as Mastering Endorsed training series. So we have this whole training series developed around the tool Endorsed, which will teach you what are the assumptions behind the model, how did we do modeling, what are the implications of different sliders, different solutions that are out there in Endorsed, and how to facilitate events. So we have this course called Mastering Endorsed. Again, it is available for free, and you can join it yourself and finish the course at your own pace. And once you have gone through that course, and once you have run at least 2 practice sessions with any number of participants, then you can apply, fill out the form to be our Endorsed Climate Ambassadors, and we'll be very happy to welcome you depending on your record of record of participating in the training and the events that you have registered with us. We'll process your application accordingly. So again, this might feel a little overwhelming as I am bombarding a lot of information all at once. But again, you feel free to reach out anytime to us and check it out yourself, explore it yourself. Everything is out there, all the resources. You can find them in our website, climateinteractive.org. So I'll talk more about the game in the later section of this webinar. But for now, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bindu. And also, as someone with very diverse and long-standing experience with climate outreach in general, can you please also elaborate on some of these concrete examples where the climate action simulation or the En-ROADS workshop was adapted to formal educational settings? Has it been adapted to, for example, high school settings previously?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Victor. So just to avoid confusion, I talked about Endorsed model. So the name of the model is Endorsed, and Endorsed can be used in many different formats. So climate action simulation is the name of the game, a role-playing game that you can use with Endorsed model. But you can also use Endorsed, the tools that I just presented in the form of workshop, which we call as an Endorsed workshop. And for educators, we have developed Endorsed as a teaching assignment. So the whole resources and format is developed according to it. To dive into the climate action simulation, which is a role-playing game that uses Endorsed, we actually have a lot of educators in our facilitator pool, on also in our ambassador community. And in fact, there are cases where Endorsed has been used in the curriculum in high school, also in the university level. So we have our long time, for example, I'm just giving one example here of our friend, longtime partner, Florian Kappmeier, who is from Germany and who has used this for the business class that he runs in Germany. He's a professor over there. And also the tool and the resources are available now in more than 12 languages. So yeah, that was just one example. We have educators from all over the world in our network, and it has been used for students who are in their high school, but also in grade 8, 9, 10th, to all the way to PhD students. So it's, again, the tool is just so versatile. You can just dive into any depth and explore it, which also gives flexibility to users to use it with such a wide range of audiences coming from so many different sectors and backgrounds.
Thanks for these insights, and also about the Climate Fresk. I've seen these different tools being used with high school students as well as university students. In some other cases, also other conference and event participants. But I know that that when we talk to high school teachers, for example, but also sometimes it's the case with professors, they have a hard time, even though they like the game and they see where it fits within their curriculum or their class. Sometimes they have this challenge of how to integrate it into a classroom setting. And here I'm mainly talking about time frame, limited time, especially in a high school with a 45-minute classroom session. So I'm turning to both of you, also Aline, Bindu. What's your experience with adapting these things to, for example, shorter time frames or limited background knowledge and understanding of climate science?
I can go if you want first. Okay. Well, this is like the main problem with high schools, according to me, because like 3 hours seems always too long. So like first solution is actually like organizing a whole event for the Climate Fresk, dedicated to the Climate Fresk in the high school, so that lots of people can play at the same time. This creates like a really creates bond between people, etc. But this is like outside of the lesson formats. And second option is to cut in half the workshop. This works, but you really have to make sure there is this second step about what can I do, how can I have hope. Actually, like yeah, it's better if you don't have too much time between learning about like climate issues, which is very scary at first, and then learning about what you can do, because like really that can be depressing for students. So this is why we try to really have this as a whole, but it works. Like I've done it for in high schools, but it was like maybe the day after we had like this whole session about solutions, about collective solutions, individual solutions. And actually what it led in some high schools was really interesting, because lots of students wanted to become facilitators themselves at the end, and so we trained them and they facilitate for the other class. So this was really amazing, because they took the tool and they knew how to, well, they knew the emergency after the workshop, and they wanted to facilitate for the other classrooms. And so we didn't even facilitate it ourselves for the second time. It was just them facilitating. So this also creates bonds between people, and like this, you have this this whole kind of community of facilitators which is created inside the high school. And after they wanted to go even further, and they wanted to have, I don't know, less meat in the restaurant, and they wanted to have like collective change in the high school. So that was very interesting to have this incentives inside high schools.
Yeah, so what I take from your answer is that sometimes it requires of splitting the session carefully and see how it fits into the next class or the next day or the next section. And the other aspect is probably for us educators the ultimate aspect, which is motivating people, participants, to become facilitators themselves, right? Before we get into that, into how one becomes a facilitator, Bindu, would you like to also elaborate on this question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So we have used Endorsed and the climate action simulation game in different formats. And just like Aline also mentioned, some of our educators have used it not as a like one-off session, but as a follow-up session, like building up to their course with which may start with like the basic introduction to climate change, and then they will dive into Endorsed at a later stage. And they usually split the session into 3 days over the course of like 3 days, sometimes even 4 days. So how it actually works is at first, the format of the game include a presentation about the facts and the science behind climate change, for example, what the Paris Agreement is telling us and where we are headed, what are the impacts, what are the some of the new researches coming out about the economic cost related to disasters and extreme events, etc. So this will be the kind of introductory session. And after the introductory session, there will be this time when the facilitator, in this case, if it is educators or if it is someone from our team or other facilitators, then we take some time to orient students and participants about what this game is, how it works. So usually if you would like to split the session in the course of like 3 days, then you can take the first days just into the basic grounding about what climate science is telling us and just the format of the game. And in the second day, the actual simulation, the role-playing part starts, where participants will assume the roles of different stakeholder groups. They might be divided into 6 stakeholder groups or 8 stakeholder groups representing different sectors. And they will enter into round 1 of team meetings, and they will then present their findings, their discussion, which will kind of summarize one action that they would like to take from their sector. For example, if I'm representing conventional energy, basically fossil fuel group, then what is the solution that I bring to the floor? So I'll have chance to propose one solution. So that is how it works. So that can go for the next day. And usually what happens with all the solutions that have been proposed by different stakeholder groups, usually they are not sufficient for us to meet our climate goal, which is to limit the rise of global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius. And on the third day, they will reconvene again and then continue where they left, and they will go into the second round of discussion, that is team meetings, and they will again come back to the plenary with their revised solution. So more or less, it assumes the format of COP, Conference of Parties. But here, the difference is participants will be divided not in the form of countries or negotiating blocks, regional blocks, but they will represent sectors, for example, industry and commerce, clean tech, conventional energy, land use and agriculture sector, all government, which can be split into developed countries, developing countries, emerging countries, etc. So this is how it works, and people have done it over the course of 3 days, over the course of 4 days. And sometimes when, for example, there is absolute kind of condition that it needs to be done in 1 day, if the facilitator just has 1 day, then Endorsed, the tool can be used again as workshop, which runs for 1 hour, and also in the form of guided student assignment. So teachers, educators can usually hand it over to the students and take it as an assignment. So again, the flexibility that comes with having so many different formats is that it can be used in a single day over the course of days, within 3 hours, within 1 hour. So we have that flexibility with the models we have adopted.
Thanks for coming back to that. Then I think now that we are put into perspective on climate outreach, different adaptations of these two tools in non-formal educational settings, I'm eagerly turning to the next set of questions, which go more around the practical use of these tools. So, Aline, what kind of commitment is needed to become facilitator of the Climate Fresk?
Well, not so many, and this is why it's actually easy to facilitate. So what you need to become a facilitator is only to have followed the whole workshop at first, the 3-hour workshop, the Climate Fresk. This is actually the only requirement before registering to a training. It's 3 hours too. So 3 hours for the workshop, 3 hours for the training, and after you can facilitate for everybody you want, your family, your teammates, your students, your boss. And what is really powerful with the tool, the Climate Fresk, is actually the experts, like the experts that really have the knowledge of climate science. They are here. It's the IPCC. So that's why you don't have to know everything by heart about climate change. Your role is actually a facilitating role. So what you have to be aware is that people read the cards, chat, that you have collective intelligence that grows, and that you have the key, you have the solution, and you just have to give them some indications that they have the right order, and you make sure they understood like the links between the cards. But that's it. Like as a facilitator, you don't have to explain climate change, and this is very comfortable actually for facilitators. This is why sometimes you have students that say, okay, I don't know, history students or economic students, they say, I want to become facilitators. And we are not telling them, no, you have to study climate first for 3 years. No. Everybody can become facilitators. And this is why we have this exponential growth, because after a workshop, we just proposed this training. And even I've trained some people that were 15 and they facilitated for their whole class, and it worked very well. So as you don't have to be experts, you just follow a workshop and then training, and that's it. And I might just add something. The cards, they're free of use, of course, like the Endorsed simulator. And so you have all the cards to download for free on the website of the Climate Fresk, and it's been translated in more than 30 languages now. Also the trainings, you have trainings in many languages. So really, like, it's easy to handle. It's free, so just download the card and give it a try.
Thanks. It's something that's important to mention, and also the same location where you find these printable cards, you find a guiding document, which I myself had to go through a couple of times. I remember the first time I played the Climate Fresk was at a COP conference in Poland in 2018. And there we played with a group of different climate and environment experts. So it was a different type of setup. And then a couple of years after that, I find myself facilitating the game for a 10-year-old. And I have to admit, I wasn't much prepared. And this 10-year-old has seriously challenged me. Facilitating the game, but it was a good lesson. So I think it's a good lesson for anyone to try this with friends, try this with family, before taking it to a serious or a more serious next level. And it can be also a way of self-learning, self-teaching. Similarly with the En-ROADS simulator. So Bindu, I'm also asking you, what is the commitment needed to become a facilitator, and also what are the additional benefits of learning how to facilitate a simulation, given you're a private individual, teacher, professor, youth worker?
Yeah, sure. So I think I can relate pretty much to what Ellen just mentioned about being a facilitator. You absolutely don't have to be an expert in climate change in order to be a facilitator for Endorsed events. So all I would say you would need is come with an open mind, come with the learning attitude. Because I can say from my own experience that I have been using this model. I have been there since the beginning, and until now, like whenever I see my colleagues, for example, facilitate, and whenever I deep dive into the model, every time I find new facts, new figures, something new, a new insight. I mean, the main objective here with this tool Endorsed is to synthesize what is out there, what the science is telling us. So climate change, of course, is a complex issue, and sometimes it might be overwhelming with the number of researches, with the number of data, facts and figures, everything coming over all over the internet, all the information is out there. So our objective is to synthesize what the latest science, what the best available science is telling. So Endorsed isn't about what I would like to say; it's what science is telling us, and what we would like to show it to you, share it to you through interactive tool that is visually appealing, and the interface that is intuitive, so that you can actually relate and see the changes happening as you take action. So again, like I shared in the very beginning, as I walked you through our website, we have facilitators from more than 90 countries, and we launched Endorsed just in 2019 publicly. So you can see the appeal here is that you can learn the materials, you can go through all the resources that is out there, and you can train yourself. We have complimentary video trainings, we have a user guide, we have a reference guide which has all the structures, equations used behind the model if you'd like to dig deeper. That is over 400 pages itself. So all kind of resources, whether you want to go through it quickly and just get an understanding for yourself, or if you'd like to be trained as an ambassador, then at that time you will need commitment of going through our training series. Again, it is available absolutely for free. We have training course, and you can complete it at your own pace. So depending on what level of engagement you are interested in, what time commitment you have, you can go through them all by yourself and start facilitating, or just use it to explore what are the insights, just for your own knowledge as well. But if you'd like to join our distinct cohort of ambassadors, then that means you need to enroll in our free Mastering Endorsed training series. So yeah, that's it. Again, come with an open mind. I think that would be my only top tip.
I think that's pretty cool. It's this mastering En-ROADS series and platform is a very fresh thing. I haven't had the chance to go through it myself, but I know it's very fresh. It has been recently opened, and it's a platform, step-by-step platform, kind of like an online course platform to master using this tool. And I think one perhaps interesting thing to mention when it comes to additional benefits of being able to use this tool, the first time I came across Climate Interactive and its first model, the C-ROADS model, very similar to En-ROADS, I was just coming out from university, and personally I've never been really good in presenting and public speaking. I was too nervous. I didn't seek these type of opportunities at all, and I made a resolution that okay, I'm gonna become better at this, and I will try to somehow learn how to do public speaking. And I saw this simulation, and I committed myself to okay, put myself in this situation, and I'll become a facilitator, having to talk in front of people. Um, and it's an easy thing to do when you're role playing, and you don't have to learn something. You just play a role, play a character. It's a game. And this is how I started to use the simulator. And a couple of years later, now I find myself doing this in front of bigger audiences sometimes, and sometimes it's experts, sometimes it's companies. So I think there's also personal additional benefits of mastering these type of tools, which might bring you opportunities as well, and of course bring it to more people and bring know-how, knowledge to other people. Okay, a couple of good insights, and I think we arrived now to our crossfire discussion. I'm sure I don't need to remind you that it's a friendly fire, so we're not gonna roast. That's not why it has the name crossfire discussion. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, and any of you from the speakers can answer. There's no order. And after that, we're gonna have a Q&A session where anyone can pose or fire a question or a remark. So here we go, first question. What would it take to combine the Climate Fresk and the climate action simulation in any possible format? What could that look like? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I don't think there is anything stopping us from doing that. I mean, we can do that. I mean, of course, the two tools complement each other, and I see no reasons why we can do it right away. In fact, if I remember correctly, some of the facilitators in our pool have used both tools, and in fact, they have also used it in combination with the climate reality training project. So again, all these tools are there to provide you with as much information in the most engaging way as possible. So we complement each other, and I would definitely encourage everyone to take these tools in combination with other, and yeah, please do it right away.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Just like what we want is people to first understand the problem and then to think about what they can do. And so first, comprehension is like Climate Fresk is really cool for this comprehension part. But for the second part, we can use every tool we want. Like I often combine the Climate Fresk with other tools for the second part of the workshop, and Endorsed is really perfect for this. So yeah, this completes each other pretty well.
Can we perhaps agree that this is a call now to do more stuff together?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right, I love that. Cool. Moving on to the next question. What does it take to develop such a tool or a game in the first place?
Wow, that takes a lot of dedication and persistence, I would say, because the Endorsed tool that I have been talking about, I said, was launched only in 2019, but the work that has gone into developing this tool dates back to 1990s, which was actually it evolved out of the PhD thesis of our advisor, Professor Dr. John Sterman from MIT, and another colleague of Professor Sterman, Dr. Tom Fiddaman. So it evolved out of the PhD thesis from MIT back in 1990s. A lot of hard work has gone there. So again, there are so many things. There are thousands of equations that go behind the Endorsed tool, and developing tool like that needs the right team with the right set of knowledges, a right set of skills, team in the modeling part, team in the communications part, a team in the fundraising part. So this is just a joint effort, but it takes a good amount of time and persistence to be there. And most importantly, I shouldn't miss the kind of belief in the work that we are doing, and the kind of pride that we have that we are doing this, we are bringing this out to people, and we want to help people see the bigger picture. So I think that belief is crucial in all the work that we do.
Yeah, concerning Climate Fresk, it's also a lot of work that Cedric Klingenbeck has done, because at first he was giving lessons in about climate education in universities, and was thinking it was not participative enough. So he had to read like the IPCC report, which is quite long and quite difficult in order to find the right graphs, to find the right data, in order to summarize, to make it like the most simple possible to understand for everyone. And so at first he did it like alone. It took him a few years. But after, when the new IPCC report came last August, but the group one released its reports, so we had to do the whole work again. But that time he was helped by hundreds of freskers, because as we have lots of facilitators around the world, it was magical. Like the community is so strong, and everybody cut the IPCC reports in a few pieces, and everybody just tried to sum up everything. And the cards were updated in only 2 months, which is really amazing. So like we know we have like the last the most trustful numbers about climate science now in this tool, and of course this is thanks to the community, which is doing a great work.
I think both of you are touching upon an important aspect here, which is the community itself. It's impossible to do all this work with just one team. So I think here the takeaway message is to really invest into a community, invest into a group of people who will take this out there. And also this comparison, now I think about it, with the Climate Fresk and with the En-ROAD simulator, we can say a low tech tool combined with a high tech tool, which obviously involves different development. But anyway, having people using it, having people taking it abroad to their organizations there. So for example, I remember when I got this idea through the competence model that I'd like to translate the Climate Fresk to Hungarian. You know, Hungarian, maybe 10 million people speak it in the world. It's a small country. By the time I realized this, I figured out that there are already people working on translating the Climate Fresk to Hungarian. I was so surprised. Then a similar story with the climate action simulation, the translation through an EU event, for European students, high school students. I had the opportunity to get the En-ROAD simulation translated to all the European languages, and imagining how much effort would it take normally to translate it into so many languages. But just through one opportunity, just through one ambassador, this was possible. So takeaway message here, focusing on a community. Okay, next question. What motivated you when you started using this game, and what motivates you now?
Well, I can start. Well, this is really linked to what you just said, community. Actually, I needed to find people that were as concerned as I was about climate issues. Actually, I have an engineer background, but I received like no lesson on climate change. No lesson, not 1 minute about climate change in my whole 5-year study program. And I discovered the Climate Fresk just after I got my degree. And it was really a shock for me. I realized how much I didn't know the problem. And this was very scary for me. And yeah, actually, like the problem is already scary, but knowing maybe you're the only one in your whole family, in your whole friend groups, teammates group, who knows, this is even more frightening, according to me. And so I needed to meet people that already know, in order to chat with them, to share emotions, because I was feeling really anxious about all that. And so I decided to become facilitator just after I discovered the tool. And I met so many people that just passed through the same journey as I was, just people that said, I thought I knew everything. And then I discovered this. And it was a shock. And so, yeah, what motivated me was like this emergency, this need to meet people that live the same thing, and after to spread the message. Because, yeah, I felt like, okay, nothing's going to change if people still don't know. So yeah, this was like this emergency that led me. And after, like now, almost all of my best friends are freskers. And so this is also like the community helped me feel better. Like this is so powerful, knowing you have an impact. You have this community growing in every city in France or in the world. And so this is very powerful because you meet new friends, you meet other NGOs, and like as the tool is free, you can like cross events, and you can you're invited to other events, and you try some experiment with the half Climate Fresk and another tool for the debriefing, and yeah, this is really powerful. And as I am a local coordinator for the NGO in my city, I try to train people in my city internally. I was the first facilitator at first, and I was really feeling a little alone, but now we're like 150 people in my city running workshops for free for people, for kids, for universities, and this is very empowering for people. So yeah, this was what I needed, and also I feel like I'm helping people discovering this, empowering them. So yeah, I really recommend becoming facilitators.
Yeah, I can very much relate to you, Aline. I had more or less the very similar story of seeing the power in and the kind of engagement that this tool provided me to make people see the bigger picture. Oftentimes, for example, when I talk about climate change and when we just go into, for example, the regular PowerPoint presentation, like people can easily get distracted, right? You need something that people can relate to, that people can actually see the change for themselves and explore it themselves, so that they know, okay, it's happening right in front of me. This is what happens. So this is the bigger picture, you know, to kind of piece together the pieces, to kind of fit them and see, okay, this is the whole picture. I'm just seeing one part or the another of this big picture. So the tools by Climate Interactive, so Endorsed, and I actually started with another tool called C-Roads. Again, it can also be used in the game format, and Viktor also mentioned about it. So back then I was still in my undergraduate studies, and I was a student of veterinary science, not a geography or not directly involved in climate change studies back then. So for me, it was very similar story to Alan, in the sense that I was already one of the top student in my class, and I also had this feeling that, wow, I have learned so much. But then when I came to know about climate change, in fact, and how I didn't know like nothing about the issue, the kind of attention that it needed, and how I was unaware, that kind of made me felt overwhelmed. That how is it possible that I'm already in my bachelor's degree, I'm doing my veterinary science course, I'm in the process of becoming a doctor, and I don't know, like we are in this situation of vulnerability. And coming from Nepal, I kind of had this anxiety, like my people had absolutely no clue that they are kind of paying the cost for the brunt that they didn't cause in the first place, to be very honest and to put it bluntly. So I knew that if I just speak them about the numbers and just give them PowerPoint presentation, it will be hard for them to kind of process everything, because again, climate science in itself can be very vast, and the complexities around it can be quite tough. So then I found Climate Interactive through another youth organization I was working with called Climate. That is how I came to know Viktor as well. So at Climate was a youth partner with Climate Interactive and adopted the tools developed by Climate Interactive. So when I got this tool, I'm like, oh my God, this kind of tool actually exists. I mean, you know, that moment of, aha, oh, really? I mean, why did I not come across this before? And that this is absolutely what I need, and it's already here and absolutely for free. Thanks to being the not-for-profit think tank, they are giving it us for free. And yeah, I went on doing many campaigns in Nepal and all around the world. And that was when I was not even as a staff of Climate Interactive, because I love the tool, I love the work, and I saw the power that the tool had in engaging people, and people from any different background, any academic understanding, see what is really at stake, but also see that there is a hope that we can still make a difference. And then I engaged with this community, and now what motivates is, again, the community. As an outreach and engagement manager, I get in touch with people from so many different backgrounds in so many different countries, and that just makes me feel empowered. And I get to learn each day from people who are working in different sectors, different stories, all the narratives, and that gives me hope and it keeps me motivated.
Nice, so nice to hear these different factors. What motivated you back then, and what motivates you right now? And I think the conclusion is that it's the same thing. It's the same thing that motivated you on the day one. What motivates you doing this today? And I personally can relate with many of the things you mentioned regarding the community, the people you get to know, the circles you get to meet, and of course also the knowledge and the know-how, which is power in itself. Okay, but enough talk from my end. I would really like to hear our audience and our participants. So this is where the open Q&A starts. Please feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your camera, and share whatever you'd like to. Okay, I understand. Perhaps it takes a couple of seconds, maybe a minute, to get your thoughts together. You can also write it in the chat box if that's more convenient to you. Otherwise, this discussion, of course, doesn't end here. We'd like to take it further with the next webinars, as well as the social media channels we have. Where this discussion will be posted once it ends and it's uploaded to YouTube. Anyway, maybe we can inspire some of our participants to come up with a question or a remark. Coming back to you, Bindu and Aline, I'd like to ask you, when coming back to the question of the idea of high schools and that age group, what do you think? What do you think is the most fitting or most convenient subject if you want to motivate, for example, high school teachers to using these tools? What are the most relevant subjects or settings where this could come into the picture?
I can start. Well, I'm thinking about my last experience in high schools, and when students are in high school, they're old enough to take actions themselves and to create a group and to really organize, I don't know, activities in the high school, have clubs, and really change things internally. Like when they're in middle school, they need some help, but in high school, they're autonomous to do so. And so what is really impactful, according to me, is showing them how much they can do right now. Like tomorrow morning, they create a group and they go to speak to this person in the high school about what they eat at the restaurants. They're gonna talk to this person. We just give them the contact, for instance, in order to talk about, I don't know, the heating of the high school, and we want them to maybe to measure the carbon emissions of the high school, and they will learn so much and know what to do, because it's when you make a step in this direction, you never end because after you have one action, you feel like, okay, I have impact now, so what can I do next? And after, they will, I don't know, become facilitators, organize other workshops, bring I don't know, lecturers, or really, they in high school, they're old enough to really go big in these subjects. So this is really something powerful, especially like in a high school where we created this kind of a group of really motivated students. They had this huge kind of poll about what they ate at the restaurant, at the food restaurant, and they discovered actually many people didn't want that much meat in the restaurant, and actually the high school didn't know. They thought, okay, it's like normal, we have meat every day, etc. And they were like, from the students, they had this demand of having less red meat in the restaurant. And I felt like this is so powerful, having students themselves taking these initiatives. So this is, yeah, according to me, we need to make them think they have power. This is the key.
Yeah, I would just add to what Aline said. In fact, in our ambassador cohort, we have students from high school who have gone through our training series and have joined us. We have a couple of them, and the way that they are using it is as individually through their own effort and through their own interest and passion to kind of share it with their larger audience, that here is the tool, see what I've discovered, just in a process of like making it a group experience, learning experience. So students have used it in that manner. And if we talk about the cases of the educators who have done it, we again have a very diverse pool. I remember that we had a receipt query from a high school teacher who taught math course and wanted to run an Endorsed workshop for the cohort, for the class. And we have educators who teach science, who also teach environment, health, and population subject. So again, we have educators from many different subjects who are using the tool, because again, climate change touches all aspects of these subjects in a way or other. So yeah, anyone is welcome basically. And students, in fact, themselves have taken it to their educators on the tool, taken it to their peers. So again, the change comes from like many different directions. It's just when people find about it and see how it works, they really find it, they really see the kind of engagement that they can drive, and it just kicks up that way.
Thanks. When I think about it, those couple of times when I was going to a high school, it was most of the time it was me or us as external educators coming there, and in one or two cases it happened that after the first demonstration, the teacher got motivated as well to become a facilitator. And to replicate it later on for other groups and classes. But I think one of the biggest challenges is to, try to skip this part of having to go there and still having them become a facilitator. And I think this is where we have to, and we are putting efforts into getting these tools, such as the competence model of the Sustainaware project, to people, using forums, using the usual channels, the usual social media channels, to get to them. And I also remember that during these visits, it was more the case that not the teacher or not the educator themselves, but the students became interested, and they were the ones who took it further and perhaps organized it as part of a thematic week in the school or at the school. All right. Thank you so much to both of you and for all of you who have joined today. As said, this discussion was recorded and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. You will be able to find it on our social media channels. And I'd like to thank both of you, Aline, Bindu, for taking the time and the effort of sharing these things. Also, a lot of personal experiences, which I think makes these type of discussions even more fruitful, other than the organizatory and the professional experiences. So thanks really for sharing those things. And for everyone else who participated in this webinar, we would be keen to hear your thoughts, how you found this webinar, and also to join the upcoming webinars in the coming weeks, which will feature diverse topics. And also inviting you now to the summer school that we're going to organize this summer in Ljubljana, at the University of Ljubljana, which will be an opportunity to try these tools, both the Climate Fresk as well as the En-ROADS simulation model. So we will use these next weeks, these winter weeks, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, to fine-tune our approach when it comes to the competence model, and then focus on the organization of this summer school, and as well as the conference that will follow it in Ljubljana. So please stay in touch with us through the upcoming webinars, and stay safe and keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would just like to quickly mention a huge thanks to you, Viktor, for being a longtime friend and partner in this journey of taking these tools, reaching out to large audience, and also to the team of Sustainaware project. And I wish you all the best. And Aline, it was nice connecting with you, and I can see a lot of synergies in the work we do, which is so encouraging. So thank you for having me, and thank you for being a great partner in this journey.
Same, just a really big thank you to all Sustainaware teams. Nice meeting you, Bindu. And I really think we have like cross trainings to do with both our communities, because our tools are so complementary. So yeah, and of course I can encourage everybody that's listening to try both tools, because yeah, really it's really cool to have like this workshop with maybe both of it. And thank you, Viktor, for everything. Really, that was great.
Pleasure. Take care and stay in touch.